Happy Monday, everybody, and welcome back to Brown Bag Bets, powered by BetSperts, where your daily dose of quick hit handicapping and sports betting picks. I'm Alex Christensen, and joining me, as always, Mr. Andy Molitor. What a fun football game last night, Andy. A reminder of how just crazy good Patrick Mahomes is at football. Just a pleasure. What an absolute joy that was to watch.
No, I mean I had Broncos. I had a Bucks teaser, so yeah, it was fun,
Minus
but
that.
not that part wasn't any fun, nor the second half bet that we couldn't get home. But it was, yeah, we talked about it a little in the halftime stream. It's like, shit, are we so numb to it now where it's like he does this spin move down by the goal line, and you're just like, yeah, he does that. Because I mean, those things just weren't things you saw. I mean, you weren't going to see Ben Roethlisberger do shit like that. Even 10, 15 years ago, the top quarterbacks are just they were all pocket guys, and every once in a while you'd have a Cordell Stewart or a Mike Vick come out and like, oh, this guy's super crazy athletic and he runs sometimes, but a lot of Mike Vick aside, a lot of them weren't great passers. Like it's wild to see someone with so much athletic ability and still just a fucking cannon, an accurate cannon, and the I don't know, is it creativity the word I'm looking for? Like what he does. Um,
Yeah, it's
just in space when the play breaks down like that. I mean, because that guy that caught the touchdown was like standing at the goal line when he did the spin move. He broke loose and he just kind of flipped it over the top, like just absolute fucking. People use schoolyard or like backyard football as a kind of a pejorative sometimes, but like when it works like that, fucking do it.
Yeah, I guess it's creativity. It's taking that athleticism to the next level because all these running quarterbacks that we've seen in the past would either look to pass quickly or look to run. The way it's almost like a video game character. If you ever played Madden and you had one of those athletic quarterbacks and you knew that like as long as the defensive end wasn't too close, you can always kind of spin move, run to the other side of the field and have a chance to make something happen again. And he uses that athleticism not necessarily to run down the field, and he does do it sometimes to pick up first downs and such, but in moments like that, having the realization where it's, you know what, let me just find some more space, and let me keep finding some more space so that at some point someone's going to get themselves open. Because again, I know that I have the footwork here to, and again, not get sacked. I mean, that's what's amazing. I mean, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, it's a good defense. They put a lot of pressure on quarterbacks, and you watch these guys. I mean, they're jumping at him, and not even really getting their arms anywhere near him at some of these points. And I think that's what it is. We haven't seen too many quarterbacks. I think some of the better non-mobile quarterbacks we've seen do stuff like that, but not nearly to this degree. So to watch someone that could run maybe the way Lamar Jackson does, but decides to use it to do stuff like that, I think is more amazing. It's almost like watching ballet at some point.
Yeah, it was art and very annoying. But the silver lining, and I did bring this up a couple times in the last week or two, I said, let's watch this game. And I was not unhappy with Tampa Bay, especially what they were able to do on offense with a few players coming back. The fact that they lost probably creates a little bit of value. I haven't looked. Hopefully, I can get closer to a 10-1 for Tampa to win the Super Bowl. I think as this team continues to get healthy, they are going to be one of the best teams in the NFC, and just they have a really good chip chair chance to host some playoff games, even at 2-2, and end up in the Super Bowl as the NFC's kind of representative. So I'm gonna hunt those down. I'll talk about that a little later in the week and probably on the deep dive as well. But yeah, let's
That
shoot
makes a
bets
ton
and
of
shit
sense.
today.
I mean, yeah, as bad as Tampa Bay's been, 2-2, I was surprised. It was like they must be 1-3, but you're right, they're 2-2, and they can't have everybody be hurt all year. But let's move forward. We'll get to Monday night a little bit later. Apparently they're playing golf again this week.
Yeah, every week they're gonna play golf.
Wow,
There's a few tournaments that aren't as good
it's
as
almost
the
like tennis.
Sanderson Farms or the Fortinet Open, but yeah, it's a rough time of year, and I had a bad week. I haven't had a bad week in a while. It was a nice kick in the pants, I guess, to get me moving. I overweighted a couple things, and I believe it was hubris. Like I thought, this tournament maybe doesn't jive with this stat, but it's been working so well for me. Did not work well. Matchups were subpar. In tournament matchups were about 500, but obviously my outrights weren't good. I wasn't really paying attention. I had a Emiliano Grillo 40. Well, it's Sunday. I didn't really have anyone in contention in my outrights. And
It's just
also,
good
it's
to remind
NFL
the people.
Sunday.
You don't have to pay attention,
Well,
folks.
no,
Just let
yeah.
it
So
happen.
Well, it was NFL
You don't have to
Sunday.
sweat this stuff.
And somebody did like finally mention it in the chat. Does anyone have Grillo? And I went and looked, and my guy, who I had a 40-1 ticket on, was tied for the lead on the back nine on Sunday. And I said, "Oh shit, we got to sweat." So I click on his name on the golf app. I don't even pull up a stream, and he is on his fifth shot on a par five on the following hole, hitting out of the rough into the rough. Said, "Well, that dream lasted 15 seconds, and that's over." He tripled that hole, ended up tied for fifth, but that does not pay very well when you bet him to win outright. So we're on to Shriners. The whole squad is moving to
The guys in the
TPC.
tiny cars with the funny hats?
Yeah, TPC Summerlin. Honestly, you speak of entertainment. This will be in Summerlin. Beautiful Nevada. And there are some decent names. Patrick Cantley's played well here every time he's been here. He's a couple runner-ups. The new and exciting Tom Kim, who was, if anyone watched any of the President's Cup, you definitely caught him in his celebration after he hit a birdie putt to win the match, win the point for his international team. He's a lot of fun. I got to see him in person up at 3M before he was like, that was like right when he was starting to be a thing, and I'm like, I don't know if this guy's a thing or not, and I was wrong. He is absolutely a thing. He's very good. He has been bet down already. Sung JM's here. Your Fortinet champion Max Homa's here. Aaron Wise, and then it gets a little rough from there. Cam Davis is a good golfer, but the names from there, it does take a little bit of a downhill swing. Although here's a bunch of guys I bet last week: Hadwin, Grillo, Mito Pereira's the guy who makes my card a lot. I haven't placed any bets yet. I will say if you can find some decent numbers on like Mito or Grillo or Hadwin, I think if you could find some 60s or 70s on them compared to the 50 you're getting at FanDuel, probably some value. I will have some outrights tomorrow, and we'll talk some matchups on Wednesday. Have not dug in too much, but it's a goofy place because it's in the middle of the desert, but it's also kind of set up like a northern course because you can basically do whatever you want because you have to water the piss out of it, being where it is. So the agronomy is kind of goofy. We'll dig into that a little tomorrow. But for now, we're going to a made up city from, I think we determined this is from Avengers. What's the one with James Spader as the voice of the
You're thinking of Sokovia.
Sokovia? Okay, okay, so this is a real place. Ostrava.
Ostrava is a real place. It's in that country where most of the good women's tennis players are coming from, Andy. The Czech Republic.
Yeah,
there you go. I'm proud of you.
Back in my day, it was Czechoslovakia.
It was the Czech Republic. Yeah, now it's the Czech Republic. They had that big whole thing that all came down. They split up, and now it's a country for some reason full of women that are great at tennis. So they don't really have an Asian swing anymore, Andy. So let's go ahead and have a 500-point event in the Czech Republic here to finish out the year. It's a packed field. Pretty much all the top players in the WTA. Obviously, a lot of them. It's a home match for them. It's a good spot to kind of finish up the year. Iga Swiatek will be out there trying to win, I think, her first indoor hardcourt tournament. It's something we were talking about with Brett. There aren't that many indoor hardcourt tournaments, but especially towards the end of the year. So let's jump in. We got a bunch of stuff. One match gets underway shortly here after we finish. We'll start with the parlay. Petra Kvitova, again, does very well indoor hards. This is a relatively new event, but has done well every single year here. Really have admired the way she's finished out the season. It's tough being kind of one of those older players, honestly. There's so much youth and so much athleticism facing you time and time again. But Kvitova is able to maintain a really strong serve. She has a really strong game mentally, not just in her ability to know what type of shots to hit, but to cool herself down and to stay calm, which really is what tennis is about at kind of a top level. So fantastic conditions for her here. She goes up against Bernarda Pera, just kind of a WTA Tour veteran here. Should be a nice, comfortable win here for her, I think. The line that I'm seeing right now is about minus 210. I had this closer to minus 300. Happy to put it together with Daria Kasatkina, which is kind of an interesting thing. Another thing Brett and I talked about, there are certain players on the tour who, for whatever reason, do much better indoors. And you would think a lot of times, Andy, they'd be power players or big servers. But you have some of these returners and softer hitters like Kasatkina. Teichmann's also playing this week. She does much better in these situations where, for whatever reason, whether it be the surface is fast enough to allow them to hit winners or they have more pace to return their opposing players, generally does very well in these surfaces. Hasn't played since the U.S. Open, where she did lose in the first round. Tough match, and I think we're just getting a lot of value because we honestly haven't seen her play for a handful of weeks. And Emma Raducanu had a nice run in Asia. I believe it was Seoul. She made it all the way to the final, might have actually won that tournament. Apologies for not double checking, but Kasatkina only minus 155 here at a spot where I have her closer to minus 190. So put the two together, you get plus 145. It'll give you one money line today, and Kasatkina will clean things up for us tomorrow morning. We then also have a couple first set overs and another money line. These will all be early tomorrow morning. Play starts as early as 6 a.m., but we'll see how that goes in terms of when things are actually stacked out. Martinsova, Teichmann, the aforementioned Teichmann, does very well again on these types of indoor courts. Martinsova, one of our favorite players to bet on in some of the smaller European events. It should be a really fun matchup here. We'll be betting, yes, there'll be a tiebreaker in the match somehow. We'll be definitely stacking this one up in terms of 10.5s, 12.5s, things like that. Again, it's looking like at least a 6-4, probably a 7-5, 7-6 there in the first set. And then somewhere in this next match, Anna Blankova and Katie McNally, both in solid form coming through qualifiers in here. Again, generally play a ton of matches. I don't necessarily have a pick as to who the winner is here, but something pointed out from one of the listeners of the old Net Worth podcast, whenever Anna Blankova is in a match, it pretty much goes 3 sets, especially if she's going to win. So if you like Blankova as a small dog tomorrow, sprinkle a little Blankova 2-1. Again, I'm only seeing plus 110. I would need maybe plus 125 or so to jump in on that. But if you're looking for some fun degen action on an exact score, take a little Blankova 2-1 because I think it will probably go 3 sets after a long first. And then Beatriz Haddad Maia having a great end to her season. Priced here as an underdog for some reason against Karolina Mahova. Mahova, very solid player, someone I love to back, very clever game, but hasn't been nearly as good as Haddad Maia all season in this last month or so. So maybe in a little better form after what she did last week, but I'm frankly happy to take Haddad Maia plus anything. I have her as a short favorite here, minus 130 or so. So even minus 105 is probably fine too. Anything less than minus 110. And then in Monastir, do you know where Monastir is? Home country of Ons Jabeur.
Tunisia.
Very good, Andy.
France. That's what that F was.
Usually an ITF location. There's a bunch of Monastir events. Again, thanks to the success of Ons Jabeur, it's a country that's becoming a little more and more focused on tennis, which is great. Always fun to have more places to play, especially in this end of the season where, the last month or so, we're just kind of getting through till the WTA finals. And Linda Fruhvirtova. There are 2 Fruhvirtovas. There's a Brenda and a Linda. Linda, the older of the 2. I believe Linda's 17 or 18. Brenda is 15 or 16. These 2 women, again, will be another in a long line of Czech Republicans who will just run through the WTA. Chose to come down here and play in Monastir in a tournament that I think she can win. So unfortunately, they're playing right now. There's no outright markets open. But when they do open this afternoon, get yourself some Fruhvirtova outright. There's going to be a 50, a 60, maybe even 100 to 1 out there. Just playing incredible tennis. Goes against Petra Martic, and this number is a little bit on the move here. So poke around. You should be able to still find a plus 140. I'd play this at plus 120 or better. Again, goes against Petra Martic, a great WTA veteran, someone who is a very solid player, but I think it's going to be in that situation I talked a little bit earlier about Kvitova doing well in, where Martic has struggled recently. Going against these younger, more talented players is tough. As we have learned time and time again through sports, as we continue to have more younger players come in, they're generally faster, stronger, and a little bit better than everybody who's left. And as much as Martic is a really solid, smart player, I've got Fruhvirtova here pretty much a pick 'em in this match. So give me the young underdog here. Again, plus 120, plus 125 or better. Should be able to find all those numbers now, and that'll be early tomorrow.
Which one is it then? Linda or Brenda?
Linda.
Brenda's older or younger?
I think Brenda's the younger Fruhvirtova.
I can never keep my. We know our Wangs, but we don't know our Fruhvirtovas yet. So, all right, let's close with the big game tonight. Then the NFC West tilt between your defending Super Bowl champions and the only team left in the Bay Area, the 49ers, who have had a string of bad luck so far with some injuries. That's kind of been their lot in life for the last couple of years, and it wasn't great last week. Jimmy was not looking good. Obviously didn't have a ton of prep. We talked about it in the preseason. wasn't even working really with the team as like your backup option because they were bound and determined to trade him if they found the proper partner before they ended up, re-signing him as the backup. He was off on a separate practice field, not so much because they didn't like him. They wanted to create this feeling in the camp that this was Trey Lance's team. They didn't want to have some sort of discord among the camp and during the preseason. So Jimmy's preparation with the team was very light during the offseason. That said, he's been with the team for years. They haven't had a lot of turnover at coaching. He should know this system. It was rough. And this is a tougher defense, not only in coverage, but up front. And that was a big part of probably what affected him. Missing Trent Williams, losing your left tackle is a super tough thing to go through. Obviously, a couple other teams are in the same boat, notably the Chargers, who were able to get past a dreadful Houston team, the only team in the league now who does not have a win. They have a tie, but they do not have a win yet. So they're your last winless team if anyone bet on that. I'm taking the Rams here. I got a plus 118. It's still going to be plus 105, maybe a little better at a lot of places. I can't get past just what we've seen from this offense last week and missing your left tackle against a better front four, a better secondary. And the Rams offense hasn't been stellar. I do think this is a pretty ugly, low scoring game against a very good Niners defense. Stafford probably throws an ugly pick. I'm willing to accept that and just deal with the fact that the San Francisco offense is probably going to continue to stay stuck in mud. And this might just be like a 14-10 kind of Rams game. I like this under quite a bit. I have the Rams and some teasers. And yeah, the Trent Williams injury, I'm not 100% sure how long, but it was medium length at, I think, at best. I want to say it. There was even talk of it being like a decent long-term injury. So this under hasn't gotten hit too hard of late. It's kind of stalled here at 42.5, but that took money during the week. The Rams have taken money, but not enough to flip favorite like we saw in some of these. And just again, it's one of those where I don't know if it's the fact that Shanahan has been very successful against McVay over the years, but in these NFC West tilts, I'm fine taking the under, or excuse me, the underdog. And truthfully, some of the knocks in the Rams maybe are a little unwarranted. They were bad in the second half versus the Falcons. And that was I don't know, the Falcons are a good offense. Like there's not an offense I've upgraded more than the Atlanta Falcons, despite the team, not probably being a team that makes a stab at a wild card spot once we get through the season. It's a really fun offense. A lot better. I have them rated higher than the Niners offense with Jimmy. So let's go Rams 17-13 Rams.
17-13.
Well under the total, apparently. So,
Yeah.
Savage Samurai asks about
apparently.
a Rams and over teaser. Really, really don't love teasing
Rams and
totals.
under teaser.
Rams and under teaser, maybe. Yeah, I used to do this a lot, and honestly, I was kind of good at it, doing the same game side and total parlay, teaser parlay. But you really shouldn't tease totals. The 6 points you're getting are not worth it. You're essentially paying minus 273 to move 6 points up in a total. And so you're only getting a touchdown and not even the extra point for minus 273 off the minus 110. And that's if your teasers are paying minus 110. If you're paying more, it's even worse. You can be paying minus 300 to move 6 points up. So not great to do with the total. If you do like a teaser here, there's a decent game on Thursday that we'll get to later in the week that it's not in that teaser zone, but I don't hate the Colts in a spot where in what world are the Broncos gonna score a shitload of points against the maybe. I mean, we saw some of it, but the Colts getting over 10, you can tease that if you find a 4. Otherwise, there's lines open for this next week. I like the Commanders in the teaser, which is super gross to say. The Lions are maybe not a teasable team anymore with games going to end up in the 70 to 80 point range.
No, yeah, you got to see who's even playing.
Brock Purdy is Iowa State, right?
I don't know.
So, all right, well, let's
Iowa State.
going to We're gonna figure out who scores first too, because this is the most fun part of the whole game is sweating this out. Hopefully, what was it? Was it the Cowboys game that we had to sweat it into the second half?
Yeah,
That's happened a few times. So
some
yeah,
ugly
let's
primetime football.
you've got a nice plate of these today. 7 of them it looks like. Couple defenses. Look, you nasty man, you.
It's a lot. It's a lot to unpack here. We'll start kind of with the 49ers, the Los Angeles Rams here. Cooper Cup. Obviously, he gets all the looks. He gets a bunch of touchdowns.
Yeah.
If you have to pick somebody to score first, Cooper Cup is a darn good decision. But you go look at some of the red zone targets here. Allen Robinson only one red zone target behind Cooper Cup so far this year. Again, defenses know that they're looking for Cooper Cup. That's generally who they blanket on. So really like Allen Robinson's chances of scoring tonight, and just in general, anytime I'm going to get him at 13-1, where you're looking at somebody like Cooper Cup down in the range of 5, 6, 7-1, depending on where you look. Again, as low as 5, I'm seeing most places. I don't understand why those numbers are so far apart. And similarly, Tyler Higbee, second on the team in targets behind Cooper Cup. Just in general, as you look at the red zone, he is one of the only non-running backs. Basically after those 2 wide receivers, Allen Robinson's getting looks in the red zone. Has about 4 or 5 already this year. Again, makes him second, third of the team, pretty close to those 2 guys. So both of them 13-14-1, a really nice place to start. The quarterback's always a good place to look. Jimmy G, 33-1. Again, didn't have a full preseason here. I'm sure that they'll get back into some of the offense he was more familiar with running last year. He's had a whole week and generally runs the ball quite a bit. Was one of the better rushing quarterbacks, especially for first touchdown score when he did play last year. Happy to play him at 33-1. And as much as I'm terrified of Matt Stafford having his first rushing touchdown in 4 seasons, still not going to bet on it. So if you're wondering why I didn't put Matt Stafford in there, again, go back and look. He hasn't had a touchdown in 4 years. I'm not expecting that to change too much. If it does, so be it. I'll be furious tomorrow morning on the show with Matt. Give me both defenses here, 33 and 35-1. Going back and look at this game, Andy, and I'm sure that history isn't necessarily the best indicator of what happens, but a lot of turnovers in these games. And there have been 2 defensive touchdowns in the last 4 times these teams have played. Just given the way that Matt Stafford throws the ball around, already has 5 interceptions this year. Really like the chances of a defensive or special teams player. And again, poke around, get the special teams. You want the special teams. That matters occasionally. And it really makes a big difference. And most of the books have defense and special teams, but some have just defense. So make sure you poke around, get the special teams. It'll make a difference. The year of the fullback, likely to continue here. Kyle Juszczyk, or Juszczyk, however the hell you say it. I assume that's Polish, Eastern European.
The second one.
Kyle, 40-1 or better. Again,
what a dumb name.
Doesn't get a lot of work really in between the 20s. When they get close to the goal line, things get creative. Really like Kyle here. And then Brandon Powell. This was a name a little further down the list. Again, the Rams really have, if you were to make a pie chart of all their targets and usage, it's really top heavy with certain players. But Powell here has been coming in the last couple games, getting more and more work, and especially near the red zone. They've been using him on sweeps and things like that. So has actually a couple rushes inside the 20, has a couple targets inside the 20, and sitting back there at 66-1, just too big of a number. I had this closer to 30, so give me 60-1 or better on Powell. 7 names. What the heck? Let's give it a shot. We're going to be able to hit one of these stinking primetime.
We're going to get it. It's happening tonight. I'm very excited about the defensive. And yeah, look for that because I've seen people getting screwed out of that where it's like, well, that wasn't a defensive touchdown. That was special teams. Like, that's the same thing. It goes together, you guys. Stop that.
It's a big difference.
Yeah, don't pull that shit. And it is, Juszczyk, who, let's see, go back and watch. He had a really nice catch last week where he pulled like a toe tap like a wide receiver. He's a very, very athletic fullback. This is not your grandpappy's fullback. So I like those a lot. I'll play all those. I'm excited for the game. I'll catch you tonight at halftime with Drew. We'll try to get back in a saddle and try to win one of these halftime bets. I liked last night a lot too. It's just Tampa's offense need to do a little bit more. So hit the thumbs up on the way out. You guys have been great about that lately, especially you, Rooney, if you're still in here, because I'm going to see you later today in meetings. You better hit the thumbs up. Kyle, you owe us thumbs up for making me deal with you all the time. And yes, for me, for Alex, for producer Dan, we'll catch you here tomorrow.